of the noise and things that we go through as a community, I really feel like we're having a moment where we're getting ready to really break through. But it's going to take dedication, commitment. It's going to take national partners, local partners. We're honored that you guys are here. We're excited. I want to thank Andre Folks, Joanne Massey, and everybody else who was involved with coordinating with you guys, because it's important that you all get to come here, be on the ground, see our story, and see the faces of the people that are truly making a difference in our community.
So I'm really interested in that topic. That's the topic that I spent my career working on in New York State and New York City. And one player in that world is the safety net system of the government, funded in large part by the federal government, but there's sometimes a state and local share. Mm-hmm. And different states do it differently. I'm not sure in Tennessee, but are food stamps or cash assistance or Medicaid, those are administered by the state of Tennessee as opposed to the city of Memphis?
That's correct, yeah. Those programs come through the state, but there are other programs that are part of that safety net, things like the weatherization program or home repair programs where we're going in and being able to make improvements to people's homes so that they can age in place, so that their homes are healthier. We've been having a lot of dialogue locally around air quality, outdoor air quality. And one of the points that I've been trying to drive home is that one of the things that's making people the sickest in our communities is actually the indoor air quality and the aging housing stock that we have in our community. And if we're able to take resources and apply it to those things, we're going to have a healthier community, a more motivated community that can go and get the jobs that are going to take us into the future.
So I know that you have spent some time with the Bloomberg Organization's Center for Mayors around the country, and I know that organization very well. I worked for Mike for 7 years. And one of the things that he doesn't ever seem to understand is that in New York City, those programs, those safety net programs that help link assistance to people who are working and help people get into work, were run by the city. Yeah. And so he sometimes says, well, this is what they should do, and then I have to tell him, well, some cities can't do that because it's not in their domain. And so that partnership with the state is really important because those programs play a big role in helping people get the assistance they need, but also get into employment. So the next question I want to ask you is about the business community. What do you want from the business community? I said to one of your staff, and I might say that tomorrow I'm interviewing Fred Smith. And I said, what should I say to Fred Smith he should do for you?
Yeah, I would say continue to lean in. I mean, FedEx has done a lot in this community, and they employ a lot of people, and we need them to continue to be successful. And for the business community in general, I mean, I see many of my partners from the business community in this room, and they have been a partner, and I want them to continue to lean in on solutions. It's not enough for us to talk about what's wrong with our community. We need to also talk about how do we do the things together that are going to advance our community, whether it's collaboration around public safety. I saw Blair Taylor and some other folks here, and we've had a lot of conversations around how we can pool money together, not just for the policing side, but also for the things that are going to prevent and intervene on the criminal lifestyle. Those are things that I think the business community has been helpful with. They're beginning to put money into those solutions, which I think is going to be a tremendously powerful thing for our community. And we need them to continue to make investments. We have communities in our city that haven't seen the type of investment that they really need. And as a local government, there's only so much that we can put into community. We put in infrastructure. We don't build grocery stores. We don't bring the businesses that actually employ the people. So we want to have those partnerships with our business community so that we can truly bring vitality to the neighborhoods that we want to revive.
I mean, some people do this, some people don't, but are you spending time trying to recruit employers or check in on the business satisfaction for employers that are located in Memphis? Give us a sense of your interest in that.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely interested in it. Our team does a lot of the recruitment, and they bring me in when necessary.
When you got closer?
Yeah, when we're getting a little bit closer. So people like Joanne Massey and with our chamber with Ted Townsend, they do a lot of the recruitment side. What I try to do is make sure that I stay engaged with the businesses that are located here, and not just the larger corporations, but also our small businesses. We're constantly thinking of new programs and initiatives. I know that I keep saying Joanne Massey's name, but it's because she's doing a lot. We were just emailing about some things that she's going to do around inner city economic development loans and things that we can do to support the small businesses that employ, a large percentage of our population as well. It's about the both and strategy.
You mentioned, and when I saw you the last time I was here, there was a conversation about public safety and law enforcement. And, New York City had a very difficult time with crime, and then it got better, and then during COVID it got worse. Now it's getting better around the country. This is the hardest job sometimes for mayors. Give me a sense of how that's going. How do you feel on the criminal justice issues?
Well, I would say we're making progress, but every time an incident happens, I feel it personally. I often tell people that I read reports of incidents that take place. If a homicide happens, I read every single one of them. So I personally feel the pain, but I also try to communicate to the community that we're trending better. 2023 was our worst year. There was a statement that the FBI director said about us being the homicide capital, but I think he was referring to 2023 because 2024 we'd moved from number 1 to number 6, and we're on pace to continue moving down. And so there are a lot of people, included people in this room, that are doing work to make sure that we are, again, that both and strategy, that we're supporting our officers and making sure that when people commit crimes, that we're focused on the most violent of those, and we're targeting them specifically, but then also working to make sure that we're investing with those organizations that are going to be able to get to our young people before they make those fateful decisions.
So when we were in the mayor's office in New York City, the police department was obviously very important, and I was in charge of addressing homelessness, and we found that they could be very helpful in combination with social services providers to help people get into housing and get the care they needed. But you had to ask, you had to treat cops with respect. I know there's been some controversy in Memphis, but are you comfortable with the cops, and are you comfortable with your police commissioner?
Yeah, I feel confidence in our chief of police and our police force.
It's a tough job.
It's a tough job, and I also know that we have work to do. We have to rebuild trust with the community. We have to ensure that there's continuous improvement within our police department, and I'm deeply committed to that. Amazing work. I saw Candace Thomas from First Aid as I was coming in. Actually, a shout out to Candace Thomas. And she took me on a tour was it a month ago? Within the past month. And we visited 2 of their pre-K classrooms that the city is investing in as we talk about how we can get more investment from the city so that we can have pre-K for everybody. Yeah. We want it for all children, right, without income requirements. And they're doing incredible work. They just need investment. Yeah. And so as you look at how to support our city, let's look for the people that are already doing the work and figure out how can we amplify it.
Yeah, I find that, we spend so much time in public policy focusing on the negative, right, problems, the crises, because if it leads, it leads or whatever. But the fact is, if you celebrate the successes, you can make a lot more progress. So
you can make progress, and you can begin to shift the psyche, because I think sometimes because of how media works and social media works, the bad things get all of the energy, and they begin to consume our psyche without us even knowing it, because we go to sleep looking at our phone, we wake up looking at our phone, we look at the news, and all of these negative things dominate our psyche, and you think that's all it is. And we just need more voices, and I'm talking to everybody in this room. We need more voices to be the voices of good, the voices of positivity, to show people that there's more happening in our communities, because people really do not know. They have no clue some of the things that are happening. And since I've been in this role, I've had the opportunity to see so much. And there's some people that perceive me as being like too optimistic.
No.
But if the mayor's not optimistic about the city, I don't know who should be.
I love New York.
Right.
Scholar colleague Ian Rowe would want me to ask you, how are you bringing people of faith into the service for the city? How are you making your faith-based organizations help you make the city stronger?
Yeah, I mean, the faith community is a vital part of our strategy. We started an initiative last year that we framed as the Peace Project, and it has different components to it. One of those components is an initiative that we call Own Your Block. And with Own Your Block, what we did was we asked our churches to own the block that's immediately surround their property.
Yeah.
Let's just make sure the block around your property is the most clean block. And if you live if your church is in a space where it's already taken care of, go to another community where it's not as well kept. And we started it off with a day of service back in October. And on that day, we had about 46 churches, all of which were working in different communities throughout the city. And I posted it on my social media page, but I wish we would have amplified it even more because it was such a beautiful sight as I drove around and just went to different communities and neighborhoods and went and helped out and talked to the pastors. There was so much energy, and there's continued energy around that. We have another initiative that we call BAM. It started as a program called Bust a Move Monday, where at Olivet, Bust a Move, Bust a Move. Yeah, Bust a Move Monday. So
Is that a Memphis phrase?
no, I mean, it was just a cool way of saying, on Monday, we want you to get out.
We got some straight things.
Yeah. On Monday, we want you to
Monday. Get up and get going.
Get up and get going. That's right. In their community, and they patron that business with business.
I love that.
And so the idea is not so much about economic development, but it's more about economic empowerment. How can we use our churches as a catalyst to make that day for those businesses the best day of the year that they've had economically? And we've expanded that to churches all across the city. And so we just got an email just the other day with someone saying just what I just said, that this has been their best day ever, which is one of those Mondays. And those things are important for the small businesses of our city.
Okay, I have two more. One and then another, and then we'll open up to questions. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. You're busy.
I'm good. I'm having fun.
I want to ask about a very important aspect of cities, and that is art and culture and trees and parks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an agenda in those areas as well?
Yeah, arts and culture is deeply important. I've been a strong advocate for it, and in our first year, we worked with philanthropy to form the first office of creative and cultural economy. Now, when we went through our transition team, we said that we were going to have an office of arts and culture. But as we went through the process, what we realized was that it's bigger than just saying arts and culture, that it's about the economy.
Yeah.
Because great cities have great arts. They invest in the arts. And that's what we want people to understand. And so now we have an office that has a team that is now working to coordinate various events and activities, but also coordinate amongst the sector. We had a meeting with individuals that have restaurants, nightlife, and they were in the room and they were like, you know what, this is the first time we've ever been in the room together. And when we think about people coming to Memphis, they're coming to experience the vibe. We should be curating what that vibe looks like. And as a city, I think those things are deeply important. So absolutely yes on arts and culture in terms of trees, parks, greenery. I think that's one of our natural advantages. Yeah. I mean, just where we're sitting right now, we're on the bluffs of the Mississippi. The water goes over for about a mile. It's one of the biggest vistas. We have a bridge that you can walk across, bike across, and this is a connected greenways of parks and trails, and it's something that we have been working. I saw Anna McQuiston from the Memphis Mid-South Development District. We've been working regionally to ensure that we're pushing greenways, parks, and trails. And so I'm a big believer that our green spaces are a natural advantage, and I'm also a big believer that we should be thinking regionally, because that's how we compete. We don't compete against Memphis and Lauderdale County. I saw the mayor of Lauderdale County here. We're not competing amongst us. We're competing amongst the Memphis MSA versus the Birmingham MSA. And I'm a firm believer that we are the next great city in the South. Every few years, there's a city that rises and has a lot of energy. I feel like that's Memphis, and we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that that happens.
Okay, so the question, and which is that, you know, the city of New York went through some very difficult times. A lot of people left, and then changes took place, and a lot of people came back, especially young people. Yeah. And one of the things our scholarship has found is that integrated communities, integrated by race, integrated by class, are sometimes stronger. People learn from each other, and that can bring new people into a city. And I wondered, you know, there's a funny line up in the East Coast. You know, every graduate of the fancy schools wants to go to Brooklyn after they got out of college. If you started to if Memphis became a hot city in that way, and you began to develop the housing to make that possible, would that be okay with you?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we want. We want mixed income communities. We want diverse communities. Memphis has diversity naturally. It's who we are. A lot of cities are looking for diversity and trying to figure out where do they recruit. It's natural to us. It's always been who we are, and so we definitely want to see that. We want to see more, and the beauty for us is that we have opportunity. There are spaces in our community that are still ready for development. There are spaces that were developed many years ago that's now awaiting development, and so I think that we have an opportunity to infill in our community in a way that other cities don't necessarily have.
So my question is about poverty in Memphis. In Memphis, historically, the unemployment rate is only a couple percentage points away from the national average, sometimes better, sometimes worse, but generally kind of follows the national average. Our labor force participation rate is generally lower than the national average, but not by a dramatically large amount. So it seems to me, based on that data, that a big part of the problem of poverty in Memphis is due to low wages. So I'd be curious to hear actually from both of you, what can we do about that, right? You know, based on unemployment rate, are we that different from Nashville? Not that different, right? But it still leads to this great level of poverty here. So I don't have an answer. I'm just curious what you guys think about that.
Well, I mean, I think the answer is diversification of the economy. You said it. There are jobs here, but there are people that are underemployed, that are in jobs that don't pay enough or they don't have a trajectory for them to move up and move into. And part of our goal has to be upskilling the people in our city. And as we're upskilling, the worst thing we can do is start training people. They get the certificates or whatever they need, and then there's no job at the end. So as we're upskilling, we have to make sure that we're also recruiting the jobs. We have to work with the employers that are here and understand from them. This is something that Anna McQuiston and I were talking about literally just a couple of weeks ago. Understand from them where their jobs of the future are going to come from, and how can we project regionally where they're going to be, so that we can make sure that we're training those folks for those opportunities. And I think that level of strategy is going to help us deeply in moving people into a pipeline of jobs that will change their lives.
I'm excited and hopeful for Memphis that you're the next hot city. We're 2 years behind. We're the second next hot city. But I don't know if I heard you right earlier, but I was interested when you were talking about police response, and also thinking about like crime avoidance, as I know you phrased it, but more holistic. And I'm wondering if that includes a look at mental health that might be something that falls in the state jurisdiction. Those cities have limited funds, but I'm just curious if y'all are doing anything in the mental health realm.
Yeah, absolutely. It involves mental health, and we have a great partner with Mental Health here, Alliance. They just opened a new facility where they are allowing our officers to bring individuals that may have a mental health crisis or some mental health issue. We've been having dialogue over the last couple of weeks, and something we're getting ready to launch is adding another option. Even when someone calls 911, you can say, do you want an officer? Do you need an ambulance? Well, now we're giving them the option to say we need someone for a mental health crisis, which hadn't been an option before. So we're thinking about how we can ensure that the people that have the expertise to address those issues are able to be there. Now, we have a team within the police department that does a lot of that work now, but they're even coordinating with Alliance on how they can transition those opportunities. Even if they show up on the scene, they can transition the scene to some of those mental health workers once they ensure that the scene is safe. So yes, absolutely.
Let's take one more. One more. Kinyer? Where is it? Ellen? Is that all right?
Oh yeah, I can do 5 more.
Mayor Young, this is a question related to you. I speak for my peers in higher education attending school here in Memphis. I am curious, or I'm curious about how we can keep talent here in Memphis, sort of increase that retention rate. We have students who come from all over the country. It's students like University of Memphis, Rhodes College, but then they leave. I'd just like to hear your thoughts on how we as a city here in Memphis can keep that talent and keep those students, the future of here in Memphis, to develop the city.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for being here, and honored that you came to this event. And if nobody says it, I want you here in Memphis.
Yeah.
I want you to hear me say, I want you to hear the mayor asking you, stay here in Memphis. There are a lot of great cities in the country, but those cities don't need you. Memphis needs you, and we can put your talent to work immediately. And so we had a question earlier about partnerships with the private sector and businesses, but nothing helps to keep a person here more than getting a good job. And so having those partnerships with the universities and colleges is so important. I know that for many years, there have been people, I think Rhodes has a high percentage of people that come from out of town. And I've talked to their leadership over the many years on how successful they've been at retaining people here in the city. And so we want to continue to have partnerships with those schools so that we can make sure that y'all stay here, build a life here, find a mate here, find a great job, buy a home, and contribute to our economy.
Okay, you mentioned something that now I know that I actually need to ask you about, and that is this troubling habit among young Americans now, ball racing, not to marry before having children, and not to marry at all.
Yeah.
It's happening at Rhodes graduates, all kinds of places.
Yeah.
But this is a faith-based question in some respects.
Yeah.
I'm related to their faith. But this is, I want you to know, AEI scholars, it's a big issue among people at AEI, among some of our scholars. Do you think about that at all?
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, just being honest with you. I'm gonna be honest. I don't.
Like me.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. But I mean, I think that times change, and we have to adjust to the changes. And if you have populations that want to be unattached and not married, they have a lifestyle that they want. So how are our communities built such that they could support that lifestyle? That's why areas like downtown are so important. I'm looking up at the landings, the apartments right there. That's the lifestyle that many young people love. And we need to have a diverse range of housing options for our community to support the various lifestyles that exist.
Okay.